Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Mid-Tier Thoughts. I'm joined again by a reoccurring guest. I am here with Taprack Tyler. So, if you for those who've been listening for a while, he was back on early on. I think before episode 20, something like that, somewhere in there. And I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly which episode, but yeah, he's an awesome dude, good friend of mine. We've been talking for a long time, and even though we are separated by a few states and really have only talked on the internet or on phone, I really do feel like he is a really good friend of mine. He's helped me out a lot with the YouTube stuff, and he himself has got a pretty successful YouTube channel now. Kind of blew up pretty quickly. He's putting out some really good content, putting out some really good information. The quality of it is awesome. The quality of the material that he's covering is awesome, and he's just a really super awesome, authentic dude. So, with enough ass kissing, go ahead and
Oh,
yeah, introduce yourself, man.
I love the ass kissing, man. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you for the introduction, dude. Like you said, I feel like I've known you for a while, man, even though we met online. I've learned a lot from you, but yeah, man. My name's Tyler. I got a YouTube channel named Taprack Tyler, all one word, TAPRACKTYLER. And like Austin said, I kind of just cover a lot of stuff as far as firearm stuff to do with kit, stuff to do with comms, medical, all that good stuff. Kind of found myself back in COVID, like a lot of others, just needing to wake up a lot, and became a firearm owner and kind of just bit the bug, to be honest. Started out competitive shooting, which was awesome. I learned a lot from that. Kind of got confident behind the gun. But then I learned there's a lot more to being prepared as far as a difference between competitive shooting and defensive shooting. So then I started going down the defensive rope and kind of trying to become a little more efficient in the tactics and knowledge. So just trying to become a bit more prepared and trying to grow the two-way community here. I'm from San Diego, so Southern California, which is obviously, as we all know, not the most pro-gun state. So I'm trying to change that. If I'm little, I feel like the more of us, the better. And yeah, man, I really appreciate it. Big time fan of Mid-Tier Thoughts. I listen to all your guys' stuff. So again, man, excited to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, I gotta say, like my favorite thing about it is that like you said, you started off like the whole point of this podcast was to bring on normal people who are putting out good stuff, right? I don't necessarily want to have former Navy SEAL crazy dude who's doing all kinds of coolness because like everyone's already hearing that story, right? I want to find like the average American people like you, who are out there making a difference in their own communities, and that's what I think this is all about, and that's what I really like about your channel is that you're a normal dude who took it upon yourself to better yourself, and now you're just sharing all the stuff you're learning with other people, and that's the thing I love about it is that you've had a couple people on your channel like Lee from I'm gonna butcher the name. It's barely training, right?
Yeah,
Or
barely training.
yeah, from barely training, and he's had some good stuff on there. You've got some good stuff you're putting out yourself, and I like that you're able to, like, if you don't know something or if you want to have a second opinion, or you have someone who knows what's going on, that you bring them into that conversation, and you're bringing light to that. And so I think it's really awesome. It's been cool to watch both your channel grow and the community you've been building grow, and I think you're doing great work, man. But yeah, that's what this was all about, and I think that's the important thing is for me that kind of gives hope to this idea that we can affect change, and that like with that one person really can make a difference, um, whether it's you, me, somebody else out there, somebody listening. I think it's been really awesome for me and kind of inspiring to see how, one person I talk to that, for all intents and purposes, we're just normal people. We're nobodies, right? And now we're seeing this begin to build. And I'm seeing from you through your Instagram, through your YouTube, you guys are having trainings, you're getting community built, you guys are getting guys out there to go and train and learn skills and expand, and that's really awesome, and it's I think you should be pretty proud of what you've built because you started that.
Thank you, man. Honestly, I really appreciate those words, dude, because I completely feel the same. I've actually said that at a recent training event with some buddies. Like, if it wasn't for not me personally, but just like my channel, Taprack Tyler, I wouldn't have met a lot of these cats in my community and a lot of people online like yourself and, Stack and Rudy, and the list goes on. So just really thankful, like you said, man, to meet people in my area that I wouldn't have known before I started this channel. And just meeting them, I've learned so. Now we're kind of just growing together. And yeah, man, like you said, it just starts with yourself. And kind of get out there, go to some local gun ranges, go to some local stop the bleed classes, stuff like that. Find like-minded people, and they're out there, man. Like you said, just grow together. I'm really thankful and really lucky, really fortunate to find like-minded in my area, like you were saying, and I'm stoked, man, to just be learning together, growing together, and just growing the community here, which is awesome. Like you said, we got a training event coming up actually next month, which I'm really stoked for, and obviously I'll be letting you know how that goes. But again, I wouldn't have had that without Tap Rock Tyler, and now I'm stoked to man, be growing the community here and meeting new people and learning a lot of new knowledge, like you said, from others that have more experience in other certain areas than myself, and kind of adding that all to my toolkit and helping others with what I've learned as well along the way. So yeah, man, super stoked, dude.
Yeah, and speaking of that, your most recent video you put out, your low vis loadout, kind of an idea for like a gray man loadout in an urban setting that's not very conspicuous.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to talk to you about that and pick your brain about it. I think it was a pretty good video, and you had some interesting stuff in there. And you're down in California. You're in a more urban setting than I am, and you're also in an area down there where like I'm in North Idaho, right? I can strap an AR to my back and go to Walmart. No one thinks twice, right?
You're in a free state.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Tons of people around here open carry. I'm not a huge advocate of open carry just because I think like it's better to conceal carry and not kind of advertise. But
Like
up where I'm at, I mean, there's guns everywhere. No one gives it a second thought, right? Down where you're at, that's not the case, and so you got to be a little more careful. And the thing I liked most about that video, which I think I'll put the link to that in the description for if anyone wants to go watch it.
appreciate that, man.
That, a lot of those gun guy like gray man videos, they take all this cool stuff and they throw it in a bag, but it's like super mollied out backpack that like just screams gun guy, and they're wearing like 511s and combat boots, and it's like, yeah, it's like the whole nobody knows I know I'm wearing a gun, but it's like we all know you're wearing a gun, dude.
Yeah, man, that gray man theory, like you said, dude, it all starts with, like you said, what you're wearing and what people see first. For instance, the backpack. Obviously, people aren't going to really know what's in that backpack, but a great option for people out there, man, is using your kids' backpacks that's during school, something from like a Goodwill, like a thrift store, something that doesn't scream tactical is what I was going for, and what I was, like you were mentioning, man, just trying to blend into the environment, because those skulls, those Punisher skulls, like all that stuff is just obviously, like you said, screaming, hey, I have stuff, I'm capable, that type of stuff, as far as opposed to the opposite, blending in.
Right. And I'm totally guilty of this, on certain times or days, whatever we're out doing, of, throwing on a pair of 511 cargo pants and, some moto shirt or whatever, something like that, and going out and about. Like in my area, that's pretty common. That is blending in. Right.
Exactly. Again, if that was the common thing over here, that's probably what I would be doing too as well. But over here, obviously, like people know in California, it's not too much of that. And if it is, like I was saying earlier, then it's kind of like a little bit of a target, or a little bit of a, hey, like as far as if I'm sitting in a restaurant and I'm eating dinner with my son or whatever, and some dude comes in with a Skull Punisher shirt on, it's 511, whatever, this and that, I'm gonna be looking at him a bit, as far as a bit more so than the guy that's just looks like the average citizen, the average Joe Schmo. You know what I mean? Like, so as far as like the Punisher skull, stuff like that, there's a time for that, and obviously, like you said, there's a situation and a place where that can or where you can get away with that. But in my area, my environment, I feel like it's a little bit more beneficial to just blend in, look like the normal Joe Schmo, as opposed to, like I said, 511 gear, the all that. In my mind, if I see that person in my area, I'm associating those brands with firearms, so already my eyes are on that person. So just kind of wanted to put another video out there, like you're saying, from an everyday person, everyday citizen, to kind of go over what I feel like is a gray man for an urban area. I would love to be full kit. I would love to have my AR. I would love to have all that good stuff. But in my opinion, that's bringing eyes to me, and I can't get away with that in my area. So I just wanted to, like you're saying, put something out there that's a little bit more everyday, gray man kind of urban environment video. So I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, the thing I like about your video too is, like you said, it wasn't rifle based. It was very much based on just like kind of an extension of your EDC.
Correct.
And the thing I like about that, is there's tons of videos out there like ultimate gray man loadout, ultimate this, ultimate that. And it's always some dude like wearing a flannel with, like basically some dude that looks like Lucas Botkin, and he's shoving like an AK pistol or like a folded up MPX in his bag,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Which I would love to have that, but in my area, we just unfortunately can't get away with that here.
Right. But my thing is like by the time he's done packing up his EDC bag, he's got like 40 pounds of crap.
Yeah,
I mean, like I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's like, he's got like a rifle, 120 mags, like 2 days food, water, and all this crap. And you're like, dude, nothing about this is gray, man. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, for sure. That's another thing too, man. Like you were saying, if it gets heavy, which obviously you're gonna have a little bit of heaviness to it, but overwhelmingly heavy, just like with your holster, just like with your carry weapon, anything like that. If it's heavy, if it's uncomfortable, you're not going to want to wear it and you're not going to want to bring it with you. And I was trying to go with something I could bring every day and want to bring every day. So like you're saying, almost like an extension to my EDC, to my pretty go bag, if you will, like an urban great man go bag, a loadout.
yeah, and that's one thing actually I was thinking about because I was watching a different video that was a guy was talking about like kind of his gray man type of deal, right? And I was comparing the two videos between yours and his, and I thought it was kind of funny because yours, like I said, very gray man. Like the backpack is nondescript, all your stuff fits in there nicely, like the way you're dressed and everything. As if I didn't know you, I wouldn't know any better, right?
Yeah,
This other guy, he's talking about his whole gray man setup, and again, it's one of those ones where it's like I've got a foldable carbine and all this extra crap and a battle belt and everything, like as if this dude's thinking like in some scenario to be gray man, he's going to have the time to like stop and kit up like a montage. But you look over at his truck, right? That's in the background, and it's like it's got this one of those tents on top, and it's got like all these gun stickers everywhere and all this extra stuff that just to me screams like gun dude's truck, like survival truck type of rig, right?
overland.
And it's like, yeah, like an overlander type of thing. And I'm looking at that again, and like with all the gun stickers on the back and the way this dude is dressed, I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter what's in that backpack. I already know you have a gun. Like everything about all of you tells me that, like,
Yeah,
uh, don't put gun stickers on your car or things like that. Like that, you're not going to be gray man when you're advertising it, and the only thing that you're hiding is just what's in the bag.
I was just gonna say that. It reminds me. That brings me to another point. As far as stickers, are pretty cool. All that stuff bringing attention to you, which again, my whole point was trying to kind of blend in and keep that attention off of me. I want nobody to know that I'm prepared. I want nobody to know that I'm kind of aware or trying to be prepared. You know what I mean? Like I want nobody to have any type of attention on me. Especially I mentioned in some other cases, like we can really let our imagination fly. But if the whole Red Dawn theory, tyrannical government, anything like that, civil unrest, riots, stuff like that, you don't want to look like you might have something on you because you never know who's on drugs, who's willing to risk their life to get something that they might think is interesting, that type of stuff. You know what I mean? You want to blend it.
Right. Well, it doesn't even have to be like a drug scenario or a bad guy. People pay attention. People who it's one of those things like like I working at the gun shop. We always used to tell people because it's true. For your average person, people worry about printing with their firearm. For your average person, that's not really much of a problem, right? Your average Joe Schmo is not paying attention enough to notice like the blocky looking Glock on your hip if you're kind of overweight and wearing a tighter shirt, right? The average Joe not paying attention enough to notice that, right? But people who are in this kind of lifestyle and who do kind of notice those things, or people who are law enforcement or have, any type of training in that where they're kind of like they read people and they look at people and they watch people, those are the people who do look at that kind of thing, right? And that's the kind of people that I don't care about being necessarily a gray man for the average guy. I'm not worried about the average guy. I'm more like, hey, let's make sure like I said, if I don't want people to know I have a gun, I don't want anyone to know I have a gun, including those people. So I want to dress in a nondescript manner. I want to be as forgetful as possible. I want you to assume, like, I want you to just like when you see me in a crowd, you can't find me, right? Now, granted, I'm also 6'2" and like 240 pounds, so that's a little harder to harder to do. But and again, it also depends on your area too, and dressing and doing everything for that area. For example, like I said, I'm in North Idaho. Up here, wearing semi-tactical clothes, driving a lifted pickup, and having gun stickers on the back of your car, that's what everybody does. So that is blending in. Going down there to Southern California, not the case, right? So And then if you came up from Southern California and we're up here where I'm at and dressed, maybe you dressed a certain way, people would immediately know you're not from there. So it's one of those things where just like tailoring that to your environment and understanding what gray man means wherever you're at.
Absolutely.
I think it.
Your environment, 100%, and it's not going to be the same where you go. Like you just said. Another thing, kind of like you were getting at too, is another good point is if shit were to hit the fan, or even if shit were to hit the fan, there's other people that are like-minded or that have like-minded skill that maybe not be like-minded as far as with a good heart, if that makes any sense. People that have knowledge,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? So you don't want to give them a potential target. Hey, let's go break into this so-and-so's place, or hey, let's get some other dudes and be weirdos and try to whatever it may have you.
Right.
Just take
Just because you guys share an interest in firearms and gear, and you think you're like-minded in one aspect, doesn't mean you have the same morals.
exactly.
And there might be someone out there who is totally fine with getting by or taking advantage of somebody else, and they're like, "Ha, that guy right there."
Exactly.
You know.
Just
So
that potential less problems, like blending in and not bringing any other attention to unwanted, which starts with thing, the stickers, the clothing, making sure your environment, all that good stuff.
another thing too, I think that's an important aspect that sometimes gets looked over in the gray man things is having a good judgment to know like when to intervene in certain situations and when to let other people handle things sometimes.
That
To not be so quick to rush in to help with certain things. And I don't necessarily mean like, oh no, someone's bleeding out, I don't want anyone to know I've got a tourniquet on me, I'm not going to help. But I mean, like, some people I think are a little gung ho on trying to be a hero sometimes with this idea of like, oh, nobody knows I'm a gray man, and if something goes down, like I'll save. Someone tries to rob the bank while I'm at the Wells Fargo, I'll be the guy to save it.
they're
And
looking
it's like,
for opportunity. Some people, absolutely.
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, the best fight is the one you don't get in by avoiding it,
Which
by not
back
being seen, by not being memorable.
absolutely, that all comes back to the most important tool, the most important weapon you can bring everywhere you go, which is situational awareness. In my opinion, that's
Yes.
the most important item in your kit, no matter where you go. Like 100% all day is situational awareness. That knowing when to intervene, knowing when to get out of there. That all is going to come down to knowledge. All come down to training. All come down to all the above. But situational
Right.
opinion is the most important.
Yes, because that's the best thing too, is like it's really easy to avoid certain situations by not going places. Like prime example, right? I'm scrolling through YouTube and there's this video and it's like precautions I take as a woman traveling alone, right? And this lady's in a hotel and she goes through like this ridiculously cartoonish number of things she does to make sure her door doesn't get kicked in her hotel, right? Like she takes a towel and shoves it under the bottom of the door. After she puts in a door alarm, she has her own little like lock mechanism thingy that like makes sure the door stays like kind of like when you put a chain on a door, but it's like some kind of weird extra tool she has. She's got like 17 different things she does to the door, puts tape over the eyeball thing, does like all this extra crap, like spends like a good 2 minutes of this video locking the door up just so she can feel safe enough to go to sleep. My thing is like, if you're in a situation like that you need 18 different devices to lock your hotel room door, maybe you just shouldn't go there.
Maybe you're the wrong part of the neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe, splurge for a better hotel, or just don't travel.
Another,
Like don't put yourself into situations where you have to go out of your way to protect yourself in that manner. Like that's the best thing. Like, the best way to avoid having to draw a firearm and defend your life is to not be in a situation where you have to do it.
situational awareness, absolutely, man. Like you're just saying, another thing on that is planning ahead. Like at nighttime, if you start getting around a quarter tank or half a tank, go fill up in the daytime. Avoid that nighttime
Yeah.
because we all know the weirdos come out at night normally. Obviously, not saying it's not going to happen in the daytime, but typically stuff does happen at night, statistics wise. So
Mm-hmm.
avoid getting gas, avoid going to certain places at nighttime if you can. I'm not saying you always can, but stuff like that when just head. Or when you go out, look for that exit. Sit in the area
Right.
and have your eye on the exit. Have your back to the wall and know where the exit is. Have situational awareness. Again, coming back to that, it's all important.
Yeah, I think an important part of that too, like going back to the gray man thing, is also learning like when to turn it on and when to turn it off, right? And so, for
Yeah.
example, you can totally blend in, kind of head down, just look around, blah blah blah, but maintain that situational awareness. And there are times when I'm just going to throw out an example. Let's say like you're going to like Walmart or something, on the not so great part of town at night or something, or actually like a lot of human trafficking people like they kidnap people at Walmarts or at big box stores, right? So if you're going out there with your family or whatever, um, people like that are way more likely to target women or children by themselves. But sometimes like they've gotten bold, they'll even do it in front of a dad, right? And it's because people aren't paying attention.
Heads in their phone
So it's
down. Absolutely.
right. So that's that moment between like having to know when to switch between being like completely kind of unnoticed to making yourself want to be known that you're there, right? Because now you making yourself known that you're paying attention, you're looking around, things like that. And then little things, just something as simple as you're walking with your wife and kids into the Walmart, of just looking to your left, looking to your right, kind of occasionally, and just paying attention. Little things like that. People notice that. Like I'm not saying like your average Joe who's got their head buried in the phone, but like bad guys that are looking to do stuff, they notice that, right? And so it's that balance between when you want to be a gray man and just blend right in and not be seem like a problem, and then that on the flip side when you want to seem like a problem, right?
Yeah.
And just be by simply showing a little bit of situational awareness, looking over your shoulder, doing that kind of thing, looking around, making sure you got your gun hand free, things like that. People who are looking to do somebody harm or to steal somebody, to do stuff like that, that are looking for targets of opportunity, they're not going to come to you, right? In theory, because they're going to be like, all right, this guy might fight back, this guy might have a gun, this guy, whatever, right? And like my wife does the same thing. Like I've told her, before too. I was like, hey, look, if you got to go to do this stuff without me, like you need to be paying attention. Keep the kids close to you. Have them hold on to the cart, something like that. Like you need to be even more aware than you are when it's us, because like my wife, she's like 5'1". She's not a very big person, right? And I got the two small kids, so she would look like a target, right, if she's not paying attention. So like she knows, keep your gun hand free, keep the kids close, look around every so often. If you see something weird, like if someone's following you, don't go straight to the house. Go to different spots that are well occupied, things like that. And that all goes down to that difference between like being unnoticeable and then being noticed, and wanting to be noticed and knowing how to make that transition.
I agree. Absolutely. I tell my wife the same thing. My family the same thing. As far as if you're walking and whatever in public and you see somebody, make eye contact with that guy. Don't look away, look down, because predators want easy targets. Like you're looking around, having a situation where knowing who's around and actually making eye contact with them, knowing when to make eye contact, like you're saying, and not be into your phone, so is going to avoid a lot of further or a lot of potential problems. Predators don't want a fight; they want an easy target. Someone like not paying attention, someone walking, looking at their phone, looking down, that type of stuff. Another really good point that you made too is keeping not necessarily, I mean, absolutely gun hand, but your dominant hand, keeping that dominant hand, which obviously is your gun hand, keeping that free. So putting that bag in your left hand, putting that laptop in your left hand, putting that kid in your left hand, having your right hand, if you're a right-handed person, obviously free is again a part of situation. So it's all going to resort back to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a huge part of that is making sure you pay attention to that. Recently I watched the movie Sound of Freedom, which is free on Amazon Prime right now.
That's a
So I recommend anybody, if you haven't seen it, go check it out.
great movie. Absolutely. Definitely check it out. And let your friends and family know about that too. And it's a good situational where
Yeah, I love that movie. After I watched it, it's a great movie.
it's great.
But there's sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying it's a great reminder of situational awareness in that movie. I actually was learning a couple
Hmm.
things in that movie, how like certain things you wouldn't even think that you have to double think these days.
Yeah, and that's the thing I was going to say is there's an instance in the movie, they're like right after the intro scene, kind of rolling into the beginning credits, they show security cam footage from all over the world, Some places, are third world countries, some places are modern nations, things like this. And it's how quickly and how easily these people nab kids, and a lot of times these kids are with their parents,
And
and it's like people walking along the side of the street and some dude just rolls up well on the back of a motorcycle and just picks up your kid and drives off. And it's like, holy crap, what do you do?
absolutely.
There was one, like, a lady was, again, situational awareness. This lady's at a bus station. She's lying down against a pillar. She's got her kid next to her. She's playing on her phone, not paying attention. And some dude literally just walks up and takes her kid. She doesn't even notice, and this stuff happens all over the world all the time, and just because you live in the United States, as most of the listeners do, I know there's some that don't, doesn't mean you're exempt from that. Like, we have a huge human trafficking issue in the United States. So, situational awareness on that is huge. And again, I think that all it expands on that idea of a gray man, but I think it definitely plays into it of knowing when to make your presence known and when to blend in and make that distinction. Because that's the thing, if you're making your presence known like that and you're being watchful of your children and you've got them close and you're taking precautions and measures, you know, um, that's noticed to where the couple maybe that's walking behind you, that's both of mom and dad are on their phone, kids running around, they're not paying any attention. The, the odds are they're probably not going to take your kids then.
Yeah.
They want easy targets because this is a business, which means the minimum amount of effort for the maximum amount of profit. So if they have to fight or run into an issue or do anything that's going to be a potential working hazard for them, why bother when you can get someone that's an easy mark?
Yeah, agree. And they don't want anything that's going to be a fight, 100%. And kind of back to the low vis loadout really quick. I want to do a little shout out if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
It's going to be that D rig that I have in that backpack. It's from Faust Systems. Really, really nice concealable chest rig with so many options. I have it set up for my Glock 19, so I got 5 double stack pistol mag carriers in there. The
Mm-hmm.
reason I like it is because there's no shoulder straps on it. There's an option shoulder strap that you can put on there if you'd like, but it's pretty much almost
It's kind of
like
like a belly band.
a Velcro belly band. Yeah, you're just gonna grab it
Yeah.
from your belly, and you can raise it up to your chest if you like. But putting it on your stomach really quick in the matter of a couple seconds gives you access to either 3.5.56 mags. Obviously, like I said, 5 9mm mags. So basically, with my EDC as far as the Glock 19 with the Axis Elite, I'm already having 2 mags right there because the sidecar. So 2 mags,
Mm-hmm.
5 in the D rig. That's 7 mags again.
Yeah.
That's hopefully you never ever. Hopefully, I never find myself in a situation like that. But having that capacity if needed, hence active shooter, crazy civil unrest, whatever whatever you want to call it. It's just nice to have that option if needed. And again, that shit blends in so well into that backpack, and it just goes back to that low vis loadout, which I just wanted to do a shout out because Faust Systems has a quality rig, and people, if anybody hasn't heard of them, make sure to check them out. It's FAUST Systems, and again, they
So
have stuff.
for those listening, for that might not be aware, with that belt setup, now is that something that you customize yourself, or can you order it as I want, 2 rifle, 2 pistol, or is it just set the way it is and you can kind of just throw in whatever?
That's a great question. So it's going to come with the D rig itself is going to come, I believe, with 3 rifle mag carriers for 5.56. But you have
Mm-hmm.
option to add a pistol insert or a radio insert.
Mm.
So I went ahead and got the 5 pistol inserts to go ahead and add that in for my, like I said, the Glock 19. But I also got the one with the 3.556 carriers. So to answer your question, it originally comes with 3 carriers or 3 mag pouches for 5.56, which is pretty cool because if you were, like you were saying, like able to run a foldable short barreled platform in your backpack as well. So now you have that short barrel platform with the 3.556 mags you can wrap around your stomach really quick. I'm talking like within a second or two. Instead of having to put an H harness or X harness like a chest rig on, it just goes around you really quick, almost like a bandoliers type.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can really conceal it underneath a jacket is nice. And another thing is you can run it as a placard in your plate carrier. So it's almost like a 2-for-1 type thing. So it's a chest rig. It's also a placard you can run into your Velcro compatible plate carriers, which I know obviously other chest rigs you're able to clip into plate carriers. That's not new, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
a nice perk that it's a easy, almost like a shingle type for a plate carrier. For like my T-Rex Arms AC1 plate carrier, has a Velcro cummerbund. Basically, I would just put that D rig right along my chest right there, and then put the Velcro cummerbund over the top, and now I have like a three rifle mag carrier, pretty much placard.
Once again, I think that's something that's really awesome is the versatility of these types of things. Like, so for example, right now, obviously times are tough financially for a lot of people, right? And you might not have the money for a ton of gear. So I think like companies making very versatile stuff to where it's something like that could throw in a backpack as an EDC, extension, or then you can take that same thing off, throw it on your rig, something like that. Something that you can do a lot of different things with, and you're only buying one product, I think is a big thing right now. Because you might not have the money to buy a separate chest rig and a separate placard and a separate everything else to nickel and dime your way into getting repaired. You get one product like that you can kind of take everywhere with you, and I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I agree, man. Absolutely. Speaking of that, I got a question for you. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
You got 5 items to pick. You're finding yourself in an urban environment. Shit has hit the fan. You don't know what's going on in the city, but you get to pick 5 things. What are you taking?
5 things with me, huh?
5 things. That's going to be including your firearm choice if you choose one, anything like that. 5 items total. You have clothes on your body. That's it. You get to pick 5 things.
If I say gun and magazine, is that 2 things or one thing?
We'll count the mag as one. Like,
Okay, so I would say my firearm and my backup magazine. We'll count that as one thing.
Yeah.
I'm cheating. Pocket knife, flashlight.
Wait.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What was the firearm choice here?
Oh, sorry. I'm probably either rocking my Glock 26 or my Glock 19. Either way, I'm gonna have a Glock 19 sized mag as a backup. So one of those two. Um, I'll be honest, I carry my Glock 26 the most because it's smaller. So probably the Glock 26 with my backup 15 round mag.
And this is
concealed. Yeah, concealed.
Got it. Awesome. So you got a Glock 19 or a 26 concealed. We'll call that all
Yep.
one item. You got 4 more.
Okay. I have my pocket knife.
Okay.
Probably my flashlight.
3 items.
A water bottle.
4 items. I like it. This is getting tricky. You got one more?
I know, that's the hard part. I mean, am I trying to get out of the city? Is that the thing? Am I just trying to get home?
You don't know what's going on. You got to kind of get out of the city, though. You think
okay,
bad.
So yeah, I'd say the water bottle there, and then a lighter.
All righty, I like it.
And my thought process behind that is I'm thinking like, so let's say where I'm at, the city is about 30 miles from my house, and so I'm about 30 miles outside of the city. And so with that, like my goal here is to not get into a fight, right?
Correct.
Is to avoid it if at all possible. Now, granted, I have the gun and mag if I need it, but avoid the fight. Pocket knife is going to be used as a tool if need be, defensive option at the last. If I need to start a fire for any reason, I can. Well, like if I need to start it for distraction, or if I need to start it for fuel or whatever, or boiling water, and then obviously a water bottle because I'm going to need water. And I can probably, I know I can go a few days without food if need be, but it shouldn't take me a few days to get home. So that's kind of my process on that. And then obviously the light, just so I can see wherever the heck I'm going.
No, dude, I like it. Those were all good choices, man. Absolutely. It's pretty much what I would pick pretty much as well.
Yeah.
So
go ahead. Go ahead.
That kind of brought us back to the gray man theory. It's kind of what I was getting at is like you said, you wanted to avoid the fight, get through the city without being known, and you're trying to avoid everything at all costs, So kind of just brings us back to the gray man theory, like we were saying, and it's also obviously interesting seeing what people like to bring when the shit hits the fan.
Yeah, it's like I was just thinking about the best part I think about your gray man low vis loadout type deal is that it's undescript. So I'm thinking like, let's say for example, in that scenario, you had to get out of town, or something happens, you're on the side of the road, you got to walk home, things like that, right? You're not drawing a lot of attention to yourself. Like most people have some kind of backpack. A lot of people take one to work or school or whatever, and you would look like you just, you left college or work for the day and you're just heading home, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what, like, if you want to have a truck gun, that's badass, it's awesome, whatever. But my thing is like, hey, if EMP hits tonight, right, and you got to drive home, I mean, you're on your drive home, you got to walk or whatever, right? You just bring a lot of unwanted attention to you walking around with a carbine,
Yeah,
you know?
I thought
Or
I thought it was really
go ahead.
well. Some of the comments I was getting from my viewers, as far as tips on what else to add to my kit, I thought was pretty cool as well, man. It's always nice. That's another reason I like doing these videos, hearing comments and other perspectives, other people on kit, which I love to hear, because it's always a good way to kind of update you, kind of give you ideas what to choose, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, that is the nice thing is that when you get a lot of other voices, you know, because there's always things you don't think about, right? When you get other people's opinions and voices into it, it kind of, you know, it makes you think, and it'll either one reaffirm that you're like, no, I don't need that, I'm good, or be like, oh wow, that's something I didn't think about, that's a good idea, I should probably do that. You know, like for me, one of them was T-Rex Arms had a guy, I think it was like Redbeard Tactical or something like that.
Yeah,
He's a German
I,
military guy.
I really enjoyed that one. I learned a lot. I watched that thing like five.
Yeah, one of the things he said that I thought was like, wow, why have I never thought of that? That's brilliant. Was like he said, like an old army trick that the Germans do is they take a spoon and you take a lighter and you use the duct tape and you tape the spoon to the lighter. And the reason is one, the spoon's kind of large and hard to use, right? But you'll always have a spoon, you'll always have a lighter, and you always have that little bit of duct tape that you have taped to it.
And you
So you've got this multi-tool type of thing and tape if you ever need it. I'm like, oh, this is brilliant. And now I have that in all of my kit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super smart. Another thing he said in that video was a lot of times you'll lose a lighter. And now you're saying another thing he mentioned in that video, which was a great video, by the way. People, you guys got to check that out. It's the T-Rex Arms Redbeard Tactical Kit video on T-Rex Arms website. But he also mentioned on that spoon note, you always lose the lighter, or you tend to lose a lighter. A lot of people do, especially in the field. But when you take
Mm-hmm.
the spoon, you avoid that problem, which, again, multiple meanings to that kit, which is awesome. It's like a multi-tool.
Yeah, absolutely. Which speaking of like YouTube videos, kind of doing a transition here into some ones recently. I've been really fascinated lately by kind of Garand Thumb's videos that he's been putting out, where he's been interviewing the Ukrainian guys and the IDF guys,
Yeah, man.
and
I really,
getting.
well,
So go ahead.
no, I was just agreeing with you. I've been a lot from those two, especially the whole drone warfare, the thermal warfare, which I think I know I have an idea where you're going to go with this, but again, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I was gonna say the biggest thing for me that I've kind of got out of this is it seems like, you know, we have all these arguments about like, oh, should you have an LPVO or a red dot or this type of rifle setup because, you know, insert, you know, SHTF situation, or oh, chest rig versus plate carrier. And like learning from that video is basically what I got out of that was like none of that matters, right? Like it doesn't matter. Like what you're gonna do, work with whatever you got, right? Like, okay, so yeah, like none of that matters, right? Like, I mean, to a certain extent, it does. You want to make sure you have quality stuff, but I mean, as far as like the arguing back and forth, like it's not like the plate carrier guys are right and the chest rig guys are wrong, right? Um, but what matters way more is what I'm learning from this is the tools to find the enemy more than the tools to kill the enemy, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Like their talk about drones and thermal has like really got me kind of going lately. And recently I did a little bit of horse trading and traded some stuff for a thermal unit. So I recently got a thermal unit and I've been playing with that. And it's really cool. I've just been kind of fascinated by it lately. And it is, I've been looking it up and its potential, there's a potential to like get it helmet mounted and run it like that. But I've been playing a lot with thermal, and it is a little bit of an entry level thermal optic. It's a AGM ASP Micro TM160, and so I'm kind of like starting this journey into it and learning with it. But the cool thing about it too is it can record and take pictures. So I'll probably incorporate that into some YouTube videos in the future. But um, listening to them talk, like one of the things that they were talking about was they're like, you know, look, you know, you can run into a building with nods, right? And if a guy is hiding behind stuff, like he's still hard to see, even though you have nods, but he can't hide from thermal, you know. And like, yes, I know there's going to be some people out there that are like, oh, put on a wool blanket or something. And yes, there is some stuff out there that helps mitigate thermal, but not as much. But maybe there's not, it's not widely available or widely used is kind of where I'm going with that. So thermal's really hard to hide from. And they were kind of talking about how a lot of their stuff they're running into that they're doing, and at least with the IDF, is they're relying on thermals a lot, especially in very urban environments, because it's a lot easier, especially with some more high powered thermals, to know um, if people are in buildings or not. And that's what they're using to kind of identify targets and figure out where people are at. And that's kind of what's got me thinking is that like how much drones and thermal tech have changed the face of warfare in just the last couple of years.
Agreed, man. Absolutely. I was same thing. I was very intrigued on that part of the video I was watching with Grantham, and the way they were mentioning how they use drones almost in a reconnaissance, which I know that's not new, but the way they use it to fly them into these buildings in an urban environment. In the worst case, like I really thought was cool that the guy mentioned from the idea. He said even if they lose service from the operator, at least they got a quick couple seconds to see what was going on, situational awareness in that building, and once they go to clear that building, they can just pick that drone back up and put it back in your kit. You know, pick it on the floor out of the way once you before you clear, pick it back up and put it in your kit, which I thought was really cool. And another shout out, not shout out, but a mention for those that watched that video, they were saying the DJ, what was it, the drone that was.
Yeah, that's something I gotta be a little bit more familiar with. I think it was the DJI or something like that, which that one is the more like the four rotor one, like one you'd find at like a Radio Shack for your kid
Yeah, but
or
it's
something like that.
portable.
And then like the FPV one is the one that's more first person and it's more um like like for racing.
Yeah, the way they were saying though is that DJI drone is like very affordable and very durable.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like those are everywhere now. I mean, like I said, like you can go get a cheap one at Walmart. Now, granted, I don't know the effectiveness or how well it's going to hold up to things like that, but I mean, like they're out there, they're available to some point, to some level. It's not like there's a high barrier to entry.
Yeah, they have
You know,
looking up right now online. The DJI Mavics are like they look like they're 125, which is not bad at all. And then some of them obviously around. There's a DJI Mini like 299. That one is pretty solid. It's a quadcopter for $300, man. You got yourself a solid DJI drone.
yeah, when you think about like how much that changes CQB, for example, right? Like if you can, and like you think like the 90s and early 2000s SWAT movies, they had like that little camera on a wire, they'd like slide under the door to try to get what's the situation,
Yeah,
but they still had to physically be within like a couple feet of the door, right?
yeah,
Well, now, you know, you could be like kind of stacked up on the outside wall, and the guy in the back of the stack flies the drone around the corner and into the room. All right, sweet. I'm not, especially if it has like a thermal camera, like sweet, I got nothing on thermal, or you're like, oh hey, look, there's a wire protruding from here, probably an IED. Let's get EOD up here, and take care of that before we clear it. And it gives you such a intel advantage of something like so like when we think of intel, we think of like, oh, where are the bad guys, like in big terms, right?
yeah.
But like just that little bit of intel there, that little bit of foreknowledge of like, what am I actually getting into? To me, I think that's huge on that, and is going to drastically change things. Not to mention, like obviously from Ukraine, you've got like the suicide drones and the grenade drones and all that jazz. Like we already know the effectiveness that has, right? Like the terrifying aspect of that, but like the intel side of that, especially when combined with thermal, to the point to where like just I was thinking about this the other day, like the little thermal unit I have, right? Like it records, it has a camera on it. So let's say you get a cheap drone that's enough to hold this thermal unit. I mean, heck, you could duct tape the dang thing
Yeah,
to it, right?
yeah,
Hit record, fly it to an area, and this thing has the capability that within a certain amount of distance, you can Wi-Fi over Wi-Fi, you can view on your phone through an app what your thermal is seeing. So you could basically jury rig your homemade thermal drone,
absolutely.
you know,
And again,
and
that's such a big capability, and it's such a force multiplier, not only for urban environments, which, like you said, is a huge plus, but also in like a recce environment, reconnaissance environment, like in the countryside, the backwoods, the forest, the woods, whatever, desert. Not only do you have the drone now for daytime, but then you add that thermal capability as well for if you can't see anything. Maybe now you're checking for heat signature as well as at nighttime. That's a huge force multiplier, man. That's a game changer.
yeah, and that's why like I definitely think night vision is still basically a superpower, right? Like it's still definitely a good thing to have, and I'm not knocking it in any way. But what I am saying though is having played with both, like for me, I think that with thermal, one of the cool things about it is so like let's say you're in a heavily wooded area. Like actually I could use this for personal example. We so those the guys that shoot with me on a regular basis, we went up one time up in the mountains in North Idaho, very wooded area, heavy wooded area, heavy canopy. And what we did is we kind of set up a run and gun course, and we went out and we set up some IPSC, cut out body targets at different locations, set some cones up so you could kind of roughly find the spot of where they were. But the idea was trying to find the target. So you had to go to the cone, figure out where the target was, fire your rounds, move to the next spot. And the thing is, like, granted, this is just a torso-sized cardboard piece. Like, it is brown, right? But it blended in so well with the environment of the forest there that it was actually kind of hard to find. And the thing that got us is we're like, dude, I'm 30 feet from this target. I can't see where it's at least not quickly. If this thing was camouflaged, alive, and trying to kill me, I'd be super dead, right?
Yeah.
And that was in daylight. So then when night came, we the idea is we try to do a couple runs a day and a couple runs at night. And so the guys who had nods were running nods, the rest of us were running white light. And the thing that got me about that, I was thinking about that, was like, even with night vision, some of those were kind of hard to see again, because it was basically like, oh, the thing was, you're just translating over from the daytime and you're able to see a little bit better at night. But if it's something that's hard to see in the daytime, it's still hard to see with night vision, right?
Absolutely.
But,
Vision and with green and white phosphor and at night. And when you're, like you're saying, if it's not something that's 20 words and up, it's kind of hard to see. With, like you're saying, now the thermal can come in to help. So you can
right.
Thermal, and like obviously people have been bridging, which is nothing new, especially for hunting. But
Mm-hmm.
let's say you
Mm-hmm.
had the thermal capability in your group, but now you can kind of check, hey, there's something over there. I don't know what it is. Now you can tell the guy that has night, just like we said, a superpower. At least he knows.
Right.
Now, for instance, like you were saying, those IPSC targets, those were bodies. You could say, hey, there's 4 bodies right for a fact, and they have a better idea to find their nods.
Yeah, I think that the cool thing about the thermal is, again, like, it works really well as an observation tool, and whether that be like as a static position and you're just standing guard somewhere, or even like, if you're out and about, like doing something like that, and you just do a quick scan with thermal, like you said, some people have done both thermal and nods, right? If you do a quick scan with the thermal and like, oh, I got heat signatures off to my 3 o'clock, and then you can, if you're running both, great, or if you just got one or the other, whatever, you know, you can let the dudes with night vision know, or if you have night vision, you can transition to that to be ready to engage, but at least what's out there, right? So you can pick up heat signatures pretty far away with this too. It's like the one I have, again, it's entry level, and these things can get pretty expensive. They can go up into the thousands of dollars as well. The one I have is not necessarily designed to shoot with, right? Some of them are. So some of them are designed as like scopes themselves to be mounted onto a rifle. Some of them are designed, to run in front or behind optics, things like this. Mine's not necessarily designed for that. It's more or less a monocular that's more used for observation.
Which
But
you can pull it out of your kit and still be able to, like you said, hey, there's something else.
Yeah.
Now get back to your weapon system and know, hey, I'm going to go check this area out because I saw something over here.
Right. Or like one of the things I was thinking of is, if you want to do like a force on force thing, like to test this out and see what I'm talking about, if you want to split up if you've got a group of dudes you train with, and you want to do a force on force, whether it's daytime, whether it's night, whatever, I'm telling you, if, depending on how quality your thermal is, like mine, again, at entry level, it can, it can pick up heat signatures a pretty good ways out. So most of the advertising stuff I've seen about this, I got to play with it a little bit more to test it out myself. But they claim you can basically get, there's detection distances and then there's identification distances. And so the detection distance is how far out you can tell that there's something that has a heat signature. You don't know what it is, you just see heat, right?
Yeah.
And then the ID distance is how far until you can figure out what that thing is. And so, like, the example they gave is, let's say you're looking straight down a road. Generally, you can look and see that there is a heat signature out to about 200 yards. You can tell it's human at about 100, and you can tell who it is at about 50 to 25, depending on the environment. So, keep all that in mind. But it's something to where, if I'm thinking, like, let's say someone's well camouflaged and they're moving slowly in the woods, things like that, or they're using cover to their cover and concealment, and you're looking with night vision, it still may be hard to see that guy, especially if he's got IR treated stuff. But when you pop on the thermal and you're like, oh, bright white thing right over there, that definitely looks like a dude in the bushes. Found him. Another aspect of it too, I thought was really cool is being able to tell for heat transfer. So I could definitely see this more in a hunting application, but also like if you were looking for somebody. One of the things I thought was interesting was like I'm in my house and I've got this thing on it. I've got this thing and I'm playing with it, playing with my new toy. And I noticed like if I touch the wall, like literally just tap the wall and take my hands off, you can see my handprint still on the wall because of the heat transfer, right? Or if I walk on my carpet and my linoleum, you can see my footsteps. And so my thought with this was, again, why having both or having access to both within your group would be important is like, let's say for some scenario you're going after a person, right? If that person were to like run into a building with night vision, yeah, you could see the interior of the building like it's daytime. But with the thermal, you could see where the guy went. You could see the
There's
footprints.
like a heat, like if they touch the wall or their foot on the ground, you see their heat like left over.
Exactly. Now, granted, that's a limited time effect,
Yeah,
and it's not like you can do that, within it has to be within a certain amount of time, but it does add another level of things to it, like maybe somebody's hiding for something, or like, I'm thinking like SHTF type scenarios, whatever. Like maybe you got in a fight with a group of bad guys, and you're scanning the area, and then all of a sudden you see like, staggered footprints leading away. Oh man, one of them got away. Which way did he go? He went this way. And that's something I think is really cool. It definitely has an hunting application for sure, but being able to track animals. But I think it's a really cool thing to see that and to see the technology develop more and more and more and get integrated into more and more things. Or even like Hollow Sun's got that. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's that like it's like an EOTech, but that does night vision and thermal and integrated into it. And it's got like that thermal overlay over night vision where you can see you can see through the optic as if it's night vision, and it's digital night vision, and then it overlays the thermal so you see like a thermal outline of whatever you're looking at. Combo optics like that, as they become more widely available, I think are going to be a big game changer, because if you can get the ability to both see in the dark and see heat signatures over someone who's just running white light and hoping for the best, like that is a huge advantage.
absolutely.
You know,
I saw this video. I don't know which one that is, but I saw that I think at Shot Show. Right? Were they talking about that one?
yeah, I think it was. I don't remember if it was this shot show or last shot show, but
It was last year.
Dirty Civilian just put a video out about it.
I think it was. I think they might have had something this year, but I did see it last year as well. They had some thermal optic out there, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, you have when it comes to night vision, you got like analog and digital, right? And analog is basically the space magic, and that just uses it basically like amplifies ambient light through a chemical process, whereas digital is basically kind of like the thermal. It's a glorified camera. It's a fancy camera, right? And traditionally, the holdups when it's been coming to like one, the holdup with thermal is unless you get some of the more expensive ones that have reticles like built into them, you can't really. It's really hard to shoot with one. It's not like night vision where you can passively aim or you see a laser or something like that. But when it comes to night vision, like digital stuff, generally it's typically been the frame rate and the refresh rate of that camera that's been the issue. Um, so, for example, if you're running and you're like scanning left or right, that slight lag between what the camera sees and what you're actually looking at has always been the issue. But the digital stuff is advancing at a much faster rate than the analog stuff,
Hmm.
and it's catching up to it very quickly and getting to that point to where again you can have that thermal overlay right with your night vision and get more advanced and get better detection. So I mean, imagine the capability that you could have if it's nighttime and looking out in the woods, you see maybe you're like, oh man, I'm not sure. Like the dude's what, because like there's things you can do to mask your appearance, right? That even with night vision, you're masking your appearance, right? Yes, infrared stuff goes off, and if you got patches or things like that, like we can see you under knots, right? But assuming like you're well camouflaged and everything else like this, and you're doing a good job to mask your presence, with the night vision, it might be hard to see you, right? But then with that thermal overlay, and it's like, gotcha,
Yeah,
now I can see well and shoot passively and or with a laser or whatever. But now I also know where you're at because I can see thermal, and those two things together. I mean, you want to talk about superpowers, man.
there's a reason.
I mean,
There's a reason these cop helicopters or just helicopters in general, a lot of them use thermal vision, right, from up top because they can see where these people are running into buildings and stuff, and they're just people on the ground know, hey, they're in that building. I can see right there
Yeah.
their signature, which obviously just goes to
I,
show how effective it is.
I mean, we've all played Call of Duty, right? We've all got in a C-130, looked down at the little glowing white bad guys, and just unleashed ammo on them, right?
AC,
We've all played Call of Duty and done that.
the AC-130 is a perfect example of the thermal, how significant it was. How much of a game changer having thermal vision is.
Yeah, so I mean that's the one thing I think is there. And for those guys that are out there, if you already have night vision, I get it. You're like, dude, I already spent like I already spent thousands of dollars on my night vision setup. I can't go drop thousands of dollars on my thermal. Totally understand. If you want to get the good stuff, absolutely go into that. But I mean, dude, this unit, I think the unit I traded for, normally they sell for like 385, something like that, 399. They're like right around the $400 mark. And I've just been playing with it at home.
And like,
And
we're not saying that it's better than night vision. There's
no, not at all.
both of them have their perks, but thermal is
Yeah, it complements it.
absolutely, absolutely. But people in the night vision also have to recognize that thermal capability does stuff a lot. Now, we know night vision is a superpower, and then, like you're saying, we're not saying it's better or worse. It, like you said, complements night vision, but thermal picks up what night vision can. So definitely think about adding, even if it is just a monocular, like you're saying, to be able to got that up. I'm gonna put my night go check what it was out.
Yeah, that's the thing is like with thermal, it's gotten relatively inexpensive, and it generally is more inexpensive than night vision, unless you really do get into the weeds with some of the more high tech stuff. I mean, like there's definitely, once you get into some of the more hunting stuff or more shooting related thermals, like they definitely get expensive pretty quick. But just a cheap binocular like that, it's something like, even if you don't have it mounted to a helmet, if you just have it in your kit, it's like having a pair of binoculars, but you can use it in any environment, and it doesn't have to be nighttime for it to be effective. You can use it in the daytime, and the ability to see something like that is awesome. And I think the other cool thing too is the fact that it can record and take pictures. Like, not only does it add a cool factor for like YouTube or something like that you can add those things into, but from a reconnaissance and an observation type of thing, which realistically most Minutemen type people, you're going to be involved more in like reconnaissance and intel gathering,
Exactly.
the occasional ambush, than full frontline assaults, where you're taking positions en masse. Like, you're going to be involved in small scale stuff and gathering information and passing info on to people who can do something about it.
It's a great
That
guerrilla toolbox, dude.
Yes, exactly. Like, the thing too is like this one unit it can mount to like a bipod or a tripod or something like that.
I like.
And again, you can see it with your phone.
Sorry to cut you off there. I like how you said
No good.
to a drone. I'm looking at thermal drones right now. There's a DJI drone that's thermal for 5,000, dude. Like that's like one of the cheapest ones I could see. I see one for 4,500. Uh,
Yeah, once you attach that integrated into a drone, it definitely gets more expensive.
there's one. The cheapest drone I've seen. It's called a Parrot drone. That's thermal. It's 2,600, but that's like I've never even heard of Parrot. The cheapest DJI drone that's thermal that I saw is 5,000. So let's say you got the $300 drone, the DJI drone that we were talking about earlier in the recording, and you
Strap a $400 camera to it,
it's
hit record.
or thermal with the recording option, and now you have a freaking a sub $1,000 thermal drone, which is beyond a game changer for any type of guerrilla warfare, reconnaissance, anything like that.
Right, and that's the thing is like, realistically, when it comes down to it,
For a minute,
right, you gotta make do with what you got.
absolutely.
Right, and for realistically, a lot of us are not in a financial position to drop 5Gs on a drone. So I mean, if you got to slap together two things to make it work, dude, like that is exactly what is happening with Ukraine, with with the IDF and with Hamas and with all these different groups. Like that's what they're doing, both on all sides. Is like, and that's a story as old as time when it comes to warfare. Is people just putting together whatever the hell they got to make it work. I mean, like, prime example, Saving Private Ryan, the sticky bomb, right? Put explosives in a sock, cover it in grease, slap it on a tank. Make and do with what you got.
Absolutely, modifying your kit is beyond huge, man. You can make deal with what you got, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, speaking of that, real quick, kind of before we close out, if you want to see a really good video on that too, on modifying your kit, and we'll probably do a video on that ourselves at some point. Civ Div, he is a dude who, I think he was a Marine for a while. got out and went and fought with the Peshmerga, which is the Kurds, I believe, over in Iraq against ISIS. Then he left there and fought in Syria for a little bit, and then he left there and he went and spent a little bit of while in Ukraine.
I've seen that.
He recently put it. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I have seen some of his stuff online. He does the GoPro stuff, right?
Yeah, a lot of that. He does a lot of that and a lot of combat footage. But he put a video out recently where he talked about like some of the makeshift gear he's made do with, and he's like when he was in Iraq, he took a $5 Chinese flashlight and masking tape and electrical taped it to the side of his AK because that's all he had, you know, and how he would make jury rigged pouches on the go,
I think
whatever he needed to. Or he at one point he said he was fighting in Ukraine with a $9 airsoft chest rig.
that's
You
part of being,
know,
I feel like too, improvising your kit, improvising with what you can get, and making do with what you have. And I did see some of his combat footage, and I think I might have. I'm not sure if I saw that flashlight one that you were talking about, but he's got some good stuff on his channel, dude. Absolutely.
yeah, and I think he's a prime example again of something that I like to look out to and be like, look, this is a normal guy. He was he was an infantry marine, not a special operator, nothing crazy, and he went to all these different positions, and he put himself in that Minuteman position all over the world,
Yep.
right? And yes, do we advocate getting good gear and good equipment? Absolutely, right? But like I always say, you don't have to buy Cry Precision everything to be ready to roll, right? This is a dude who has actually been in combat, survived three different battlefields, three different conflicts around the world with a $9 airsoft chest rig and a Chinese light taped to an AK. I
Exactly.
mean, like you can't get more ghetto than that. You know what I mean? So like, don't let that be a lesson. Like you don't have to drop a shit ton of money on stuff. Like, granted, if you want to, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. Like, absolutely, go out, buy the cries. They're super nice, whatever. But don't feel like you have to have 40 grand in kit, like a lot of these Instagram dudes do to sell product to make you feel like you got it to be able to be ready. Like dude, a $14 Amazon Chicom chest rig could probably do most of what a lot of kid out there will do,
Absolutely.
right?
I think you'd mentioned that in your budget beginnings episode on your podcast, your previous episodes. Like you can do a lot of stuff with the budget. You don't have to ball out on a chest rig, even for the plate carrier. What you want to spend more money on are the actual plates, not
Right.
the carrier.
And
No,
there's always going to be people out there that are haters, right? There's always going to be people out there like, well, I spent $500 and got this, blah 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 blah.
dude,
And I'm
if you
like,
can, more power to you. But
yeah,
don't
absolutely, and,
that can't afford that though.
exactly. And for some companies, do I think you pay for the name? Yes. Some companies, yes, there is a noticeable difference. The quality, the durability, the reliability of that product might be higher, right? And I'm talking about gear, not guns,
Yeah,
but specifically gear, right? Like yeah, maybe the chest rig from like Spiritus Systems or Onward Research, something like that. Like maybe it holds up longer, better, and to more abuse than a Condor, right? Um, Absolutely, totally understand the argument. But if you don't have $500 to throw to chest rig and $40 chest rig is in your budget, it's a lot better than not having one.
check out.
And this guy has clearly proved that it'll work. It'll get the job done. And you can always modify stuff later.
I have an airsoft chest rig. Obviously, I haven't been in combat like that, dude, with it, but I have an airsoft chest rig that's held up quite well for a couple of years now. And I did a video for those of you guys that are listening on my YouTube channel. Make sure to check it out. It's a sub $70 chest rig. It's HUENCO, Huenco. I think that's how you call it or name it or how you pronounce it. But, anyways, airsoft chest rig. It's almost like a Haley Strategic knockoff. Just because I was new at the time, I didn't know if I wanted a Haley Strategic or not. Kind of wanted to just check this out. And if you can't afford the actual Haley Strategic at the time, get the airsoft, get the training in, and then once you save up money, get the quality stuff later. But there's definitely good airsoft rigs that hold up quite well out there.
Yeah, or even like milsurp stuff. Like right now the TAPS chest rigs are huge everywhere, right? Tactical assault panel is what it stands for, and it's like basically what the Marines have been using for a long time. And the funny thing is, it's like again, things are cyclical. Everyone was crapping on those when they were getting issued. Oh, this is garbage. This is garbage. This is garbage. Now that they're military surplus, everyone is singing their praises. Oh my gosh, $30 chest rig. Look how cool this is. Look at my loadout. Blah
Yeah,
blah blah
yeah,
blah.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
know,
Just like
things are cyclical. People are going to be haters. People are going to trash your stuff because they spent more money than you. Now, granted, I don't want to fall into the whole just as good crowd. There are some things absolutely you should be spending like quality on quality.
Your
Um,
optics,
but with a lot of gear that's out there,
like your optics.
you yes, optics, the gun itself, but a lot of stuff when it comes to nylon, the main differences on a lot of stuff. Sometimes it comes down with like stitching, things like that. Actually, T-Rex Arms has a couple good videos on that where he compares his products to some Chinese knockoffs on kind of like what the differences are, so you can kind of see stuff like that.
Love my AC,
As far as like,
dude.
go ahead.
I love
Oh, your AC1.
I love my T-Rex Arms AC1, my plate carrier. That thing's held up.
Yeah,
I think I
yeah,
great compares to the Chinese knockoffs. That was a good video, dude. Especially like you're saying, when it comes to nylon, you don't have to fall out on certain items.
exactly. Like one of the things I talk about a lot, and I put a lot on my Instagram, and I'll probably do a YouTube video about it one of these days. Is I've got a lot of Chi-Com chest rigs just because they're relatively cheap, and I kind of like this whole Cold War vibe thing that I got going on, and so like an SKS chest rig or the Type 63 that I run my G3 mags in. And is it my primary kit? Not necessarily, but the idea was, hey, it's cheap. I can make a quick little easy kit out of this. I want to see how versatile I can make this.
You could
There's a lot of things you can do to modify those kits.
you could argue,
I've modified a lot of them myself.
yeah,
Like you can take the old school canvas straps, you can cut them, you can add buckles, you can make them into the placard style chest rigs. You can add molly onto them with a sewing machine. You can replace the little wooden toggles with buttons or with Velcro. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to upgrade kit, and that's been the story of anyone who's ever been in the military has modified their own stuff with something at some point in time because what you got was crap,
yeah,
right? So
absolutely.
there's a
Another
whole world of stuff out there.
another good spot to find quality budget stuff. Surprisingly, I found some good stuff on is eBay. Man, you'd be surprised on people that have either boyfriends or husbands or certain family members that have either passed away or they've broken up, moved away, whatever. They happen to leave some quality kit that these people don't even know is quality kit, and they got on eBay. Also, this stuff that they put up for like bidding and stuff. I've seen like Steiner IR lasers that are legit go for like $900, dude. That are $2,000 IR lasers. But just a little
Yeah, well,
subject note there to check out eBay. Like you're saying, mill surplus stores are a great spot. eBay, all those spots are a good place to find these budget rigs, budget stuff.
a lot of times too, but yeah, another thing to keep in mind too with the eBay thing too is like not only is it like people who just don't know like what their stuff was worth, someone passes or something like that, but like a lot of times it's people who are like, man, I bought this for $50 back in the day, you know, when things were a lot cheaper, like maybe the guy or like, dude, I got this helmet for free. I don't know how much it's worth. I don't know, but I just give me $50 for it.
Big time.
And like dude, Facebook Marketplace, I found some crazy deals on Facebook Marketplace. I once had a dude, he gave me free sea bags full of stuff, which is how I got all of that Alice kit that I have on my Instagram, my social medias. I got a PAGST helmet out of it, like two full sets of Alice kit, a pair of boots, a couple other things, some winter gear for like $40. Just some dude clearing out his storage unit. I'm like, dude, the helmet's worth more than that.
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah. That's awesome, man.
So yeah, there's definitely some good deals out there to be found. And don't let anyone crap on you just because you're not running super expensive gear. I mean, there's plenty of people all over the world that are fighting conflicts with cheap stuff. Like, what, dude, that CivDiv video. One of the guys said the guy didn't have any kit. He literally took a pair of BDU trousers and a sewing machine and made a chest rig. It can be done.
Hell yeah.
So
you could put your front, dude. Just wear a backpack instead of putting on your back. Wear it backwards, obviously, in your front. You got quick access to
it. I mean, there's all kinds of things, man. People have been doing this for forever,
Yeah, bro.
So but yeah, with that being said, thank you so much, dude, for joining in with us. It's been awesome. As I always love having you on here.
Man,
and if you haven't checked it out already, go check out his low vis video.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me. Like always, like I said, it's just like hanging out, dude. Just talking, hanging out with you. I want to do a little bit of bro love, little shout out really quick to Stacker, Rudy, Hart, Memo Green Eyes, obviously you, all the homies on Instagram and the group chat. You know who you are. It's been nice, dude. I've learned a lot from you guys, man. This has been cool over the last year or so, growing together, learning stuff together. And again, just appreciate you having me online, or I'm sorry, on your show. Also, for you guys that are listening, if you're looking to support me by Check out tapracktyler.com, all one word. I got a shirt, a hoodie, slap, a couple other things on there. A good way to support me on there without having to get you to subscribe, just stuff like that. But again, dude, appreciate you having me on here, man. It's been a pleasure. It's always fun talking with you. I always learn from you, dude. I love being on Mitch's Thoughts, and I love what you got going here, dude.
Heck yeah, man. And like I said, if anyone wants to support him, support us, like I said, links will be in the description below. I'll try to put as many of them as I can down there, so you can find his stuff, you can find my stuff, and yeah. With that, guys, see you on the next.